what's impermanent loss risk when providing liquidity, and let's also discuss two other risks when using liquidity pools. Hey and welcome to today's video. My name is Julian. I'm the chairman of the DeFi Chain Foundation. And one of the questions we get obviously from a lot of people is, Julian, what are the main risks when I provide liquidity, for example, to DeFi chains, DEX? What are the risks associated there? And so what I thought is, let's kind of break down the three main risks and well, how you can avoid them as good as possible, and so that you can use the liquidity pools and liquidity mining with as little risk as possible. So let's dive into the iPad and get a bit of an overview here. So first, let's discuss the three risks you pretty much have whenever you do liquidity mining. And as a quick reminder, I've made videos before. I'll link them up down below where you can see a bit of what is a true DEX, how does liquidity mining actually work, how does a DEX work, how does the arbitrage work here. These are all basic understanding that I'm expecting you to have when you go into those risks here. Now, those three risks, and the first two are not that relevant on DeFi chain, and that's a really, really good thing. So the very first one is smart contract risk. Now, I discussed this before. One of the big advantages DeFi chain has, it's non-Turing complete. So the possibilities of a smart contract having a failure here is very, very, very small. I don't want to say it's zero, but it's very unlikely. That is in stark contrast to Turing complete chains like Ethereum. That's why you hear so many problematic statements with DeFi on Ethereum, for example. The next thing is project risk. Now, that means that you have a project that scams you out of your money, does, for example, a rug pull, pulls out the liquidity. This does not mean that there's a fault in the smart contract. It just means you have a rogue team. I can assure you this problem is zero here at DeFi chain. So yeah, you can kind of cut this out. This is really, really important. Whenever you use DeFi, there can be a project or a team behind it that can be malicious. And the last one, and that's, well, the impermanent loss risk. And this is a risk that you will also have on DeFi chain. And you always have this risk when you have trading pairs in a liquidity pool that, well, move against each other. And obviously, the more volatile those assets are, well, the bigger the risk is. So if you would have a beta of exactly 1, that means that everything moves exactly aligned with each other, this impermanent loss risk wouldn't exist. But as soon as you have assets that move against each other, this risk starts to happen. So at the end, it happens a lot with beta, which means how correlated are the assets that are being traded against. The other thing is, the more time you have, hence also the term impermanent, so it's not permanent, the more time you have, the more patient you can be, the more likely it is that you don't have this risk. So this risk in general has a lot to do with also with timing. But at the end, it has a lot to do with correlation and your time horizon, how much time you have. So let me give you an easy to understand example so you can understand the permanent loss risk. Now again, I'm using the example here of the DeFi chain DEX, but this works with pretty much anything else as well. So let's use the example that on the fair market outside, when you get started, 1 BTC equals 50,000 DFI. Now I'm just using those numbers because it's very easy. I've used them in the other videos before. Now let's say you contribute to the DEX, and in the DEX there are 10 BTC already. So that means you have 500,000 DFI in there. Sorry, let's use a different one. Let's use 9 and 450 so it's easier to calculate. So you add this, and basically this means now there's 10 BTC in there and 500,000 DFI, which also means your share is what? You can calculate this 10%. So you are entitled to 10% of the share in there. So now let's discuss the impermanent loss idea here. Let's use a simple example so you can kind of understand this. Imagine you have someone using the DEX, right? So this is adding liquidity. Let's say someone uses DEX, puts in 1 BTC to get 50,000 DFI out, right? So let's just use this example here. So someone adds 1 BTC which means there's now 11 BTC in. And for the very simple sake of argument, let's not use all the approximations on how the slippage actually works. Let's just say exactly 50,000 DFI come out. Now, this is not going to happen. There's less coming out. But let's just, for the sake of an easy calculation here to really describe the impermanent loss, let's say 50,000 DFI come out. So now there's 450,000 DFI in there. Now you can calculate it, and if you just calculate between the two, well, the 450,000 DFI based on the calculation here should actually be, so this should actually be 9 BTC here. So if I add those two together, 9 plus 11 is still 20. Here, this is 10 BTC. So here I have 10 and 10, I have 20 as well. So just for the sake of argument, let's now say 1 BTC equals only 25,000 DFI, just for the sake of argument. This would be 18 Bitcoin, right, in theory. But so let's say here right now, you still have your 10% share. Well, in this case, in 10%, you would get 1.1 BTC out, right? But here, you would only be getting 45,000 DFI out. Now you would say, based on the original calculation here, hey, this doesn't really matter because it just balances out. It's still 2 Bitcoin. It's not anymore because here, this went up in price a lot. Remember, now it's 25,000. So here, you have a loss in BTC or whatever calculation you make, because had you just held the 50,000 DFI, you would have actually made more money than putting it into the automated market maker. Let me know if you have any questions on this, if this solves this, if this answers this. At the end, it's all about a risk of the assets moving against each other, and it would have been better to just hold the assets. Now, there's no real way to offset that. At the end, it comes down to comparing potential loss risk with the returns that you have. My personal opinion, obviously on DeFi chain, the returns are very attractive, so it can offset the loss by itself. If you don't want to take this risk, my tip, just do the DeFi staking, then you don't have this impermanent loss risk, but you're probably also going to get way less in return. I hope you like this. If you don't want to miss any video, click the subscribe button, click the upvote. For any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any nice things to say, I would also love to have your feedback. And other than that, see you at the next video. Thanks so much. Yours truly, Julian.